My name is Kerrie, and my goal is to inspire healing and meaning in all areas of life. In this podcast, we will dive deep into conversations. From heartbreak to freedom, we will explore different self-care modalities, learn to be the best expressions of ourselves, and to live with purpose. I'm here to offer my personal insights and to share my story in hopes that it will guide you on your path. This is Heal with Care, a journey of self-discovery. Have you ever looked out the window and wondered if there's more to life than this? I have. I was on the bus heading home from college, staring out the window, lost in thought. At the time, texting had become popular. I looked around and noticed almost everyone on the bus had their heads down, staring at their phones. They were sending or receiving text messages. Out of curiosity, I started counting how many drivers were passing by on their phones. Back then, I must have had either a flip phone or a BlackBerry. Touchscreen smartphones and social media weren't really a thing yet. Sometimes I can't believe how much has changed since that moment. As I sat quietly, I observed the world around me. I wondered about the meaning of life. Was this it? I didn't feel like I was really living. My life just seemed dull and boring. My life didn't feel like it had any meaning. Why was I here? I felt like life was a chore and I didn't really want to be here. I was waking up, going to school, eating, sleeping, and then repeating this all over again. Nothing felt exciting. Nothing gave me a sense of purpose. I wasn't doing anything that I really enjoyed. I just knew I had to pick something to study, to go to school, and hopefully I'll get a good job that pays well. At that point in my life, I felt like everyone around me, including myself, was a robot in this crazy game called life. It had been a while now since I had considered myself to be an atheist. But I somehow knew in my heart that there had to be something out there greater than all of this. Why was I here? Growing up, I had attended Catholic schools, and in some ways I felt misled. The tipping point for me was after my religious education teacher told me that the Harry Potter books were evil and that reading them would send you straight to hell. All the kids my age were reading Harry Potter books, and so I feared that most of them were going to hell. When the Harry Potter movie came out, I was afraid to enter the movie theater. Back then, the theater in Jamaica only had 2 movie screenings at a time, and I had already seen the other movie, Glitter, with Kerrie. I reluctantly agreed, but I went to go watch Harry Potter with everyone else. This experience created a major shift in my belief system. After watching the movie, I realized that it was such a good movie. It was magical, innocent, creative, and had a wonderful storyline. I couldn't understand why anyone would go to hell for watching this movie. Since then, I realized that the information that was given to me was not aligned with me, and I decided to fully step away from the Catholic religion. I was about 15. I guess that's why my religious education teacher didn't want us to watch Harry Potter. After moving to Canada, I was looking for a job, and I ended up working as a camp counselor at a Christian camp. Feeling deceived by the Catholic religion as a whole, I asked if I needed to be Christian in order to work at this camp. They said no. Since it was a non-issue, I spent the summer attending their church, singing Christian songs with the kids, playing games, and encouraging creativity and art. Nearing the end of camp, the pastor approached me and said, "Would you like to say a prayer with me?" I was polite and I said, "Sure." He told me to repeat after him, so I did. When we finished saying the prayer, he gave me a hug and said, "Congratulations, you are now a Christian." Then he handed me a Bible and a book as a gift. I was so confused as the people around me started giving me hugs and congratulating me. This was not part of my plan, and it was not my intention to become a Christian at this point in my life. Was this some sort of joke? I was only 17 years old and I was naive. How could I have gotten myself into a situation that I didn't want to be in? Since I naturally tend to avoid conflict, I left that day totally confused and unsure what to do next. I enjoy the community and the family-friendly atmosphere, but I still didn't believe in the God that they were describing. Now, all of a sudden, I was told I was somehow switched religions and I was now a Christian. Looking back at it, I feel like these people felt so strongly about their faith that they really wanted me to be a part of it. But in some strange way, it feels like manipulation. It would have been different if they asked me if I wanted to convert to Christianity, but that's not what happened. I had really hoped that this whole thing would come to an end and it would just be hushed under a rug, so I just dismissed it and carried on with my day. A few days later, the pastor asked me if he could baptize me during one of the church sessions. I explained to him that I had already been baptized as a baby in the Catholic Church, but he insisted that it wasn't the same. When I refused to be baptized again, he shunned me for the rest of the camp season and assigned me to clean the church after hours. It felt like he was punishing me for refusing to be baptized. He essentially bullied me into doing a job that wasn't part of my role as a camp counselor. As a young and naive teenager, I didn't realize that he was retaliating simply because I disagreed with him. But even then, I could sense that something was off. Deep down, I knew this situation wasn't right. When I could no longer tolerate his unfair treatment, I walked out of that church and I never looked back. All this to say, my experience with religion hasn't been the best. I know many people of different religious beliefs, and they are wonderful people. However, for me, a structured religious system just hasn't felt right for me because I know that I have a free spirit. I remember as a child, I found it difficult to sit still in the church pews. I would try to use any excuse not to make it to church. I would use the excuse to use the washroom so that I can step away from the service. And as a young teen, I would make up any excuse that I was sick so that I didn't have to go to Sunday school. So don't get me wrong. There are things with the church that I completely agree with, and there are also a lot of things that I disagree with. It doesn't make me any more or any less than anyone else. It just doesn't resonate with me, and that's okay. I do strive to be a good person in this world, but the way that that looks for me might be completely different. So I don't want to completely dismiss religions, but I do have my own personal experiences. So if you do have a strong religious faith, there is nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine. I haven't had the greatest experiences, but that's because it's part of my journey to constantly question and challenge my own belief systems. There's something that I heard recently that really struck a chord with me, and it's that we will all grow and evolve in our own ways. Since we are all unique and different, we're naturally going to be drawn to different belief systems, yet in the end, they will all lead us to the same place. This is something that I found super fascinating. Something that I learned about the Hindu faith is that they will be able to choose a god or goddess that they feel deeply and personally connected to. This will allow them to focus their devotion on one that aligns best with their spiritual path. This idea is something that really resonates with me. Even though I don't feel drawn to any particular god or goddess at this time, I do believe that there is something greater out there and that we can connect with our loved ones, our guides, our angels, etc. I don't feel I need to worship with anything in particular, that we can just all work together to help make the world a better place. And when I think back of my yoga training, yoga isn't a religion, but it's a practice for inner peace. And all yoga practices, it doesn't matter which practice you do, whether you want to just focus on breathing exercises, meditation, mindfulness, the asanas, the physical movements, or even chanting and singing. Whichever one you choose, it ultimately leads to the same goal, which is finding inner peace and enlightenment. So, going back to that moment on the bus, I remember thinking to myself, there has to be more to life than this. I didn't believe in the God that they were describing to me, and the world felt like it was full of robots, and I was the only one awake, watching everything go by. I thought to myself, people wake up every day, go to school, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, and then do it all over again. To me, there was nothing fulfilling about that. As I sat there, lost in my own thoughts, I really wanted to know the true purpose and meaning of life. I've come to realize that purpose and meaning looks different for everyone. What feels meaningful to one person may not resonate with another. What I've learned about myself is that I thrive on things that I feel passionate about. When I'm really into something, I feel motivated and energized. But when that passion is missing, I struggle and life starts to feel meaningless. At that point, I'm simply going through the motions and just trying to survive. I try to find activities that I can integrate into my day, giving me something exciting to look forward to. When I find something that I truly enjoy, it becomes a goal to work towards, keeping me motivated. For example, at one point in my life, Muay Thai, a martial art from Thailand, was a true passion of mine. I was fascinated by how my body moved, how different stretches could enhance my mobility, how strength training could build power, and how even the smallest adjustment in technique could make a huge difference. I love the precision and timing required when facing an opponent, as well as the coordination needed to bring everything together. I was in awe of my body's capabilities and how much I can push myself, constantly testing my own limits to see what was possible for me. I find that passions change as I evolve and grow. Sometimes I'll think I'll stick with something forever because I love it so much, but then one day, out of nowhere, my love for it changes. Whether it's due to an experience, physical capabilities, or simply a time where I need to move on. I just know when it no longer lights me up and it's no longer fun. When that happens, I know it's time to go out and explore the world again, to find something new that will spark something within me. It seems to be a cycle for me, and I've come to love and accept that this is simply how my life flows. I've always found that when I'm truly passionate about something, I pour my heart and soul into it, to the point where I want to turn it into my full-time job. For most of my life, I struggle to stay happy because my happiness seems to be tied to what I'm passionate about. And when I'm working for someone who doesn't necessarily share the same passions, it can be challenging. Throughout my career, I've learned so many skills, and now I see that I need all of them to become a successful entrepreneur. I've worked in many roles, and working for smaller companies really allowed me to wear many hats. I may have been a graphic designer, but I also took on event planning, engaging with other people. It's funny how at times I didn't realize how valuable these skills would be in my future. I always knew I'd eventually want to branch off on my own so I can live a life that truly fulfills me. Sometimes we have to do things that we don't love just to get by and for the experience. But looking back, every experience had its purpose, whether I thought it was worth it or not at the time. If I hadn't been eager to learn and collaborate with others, I wouldn't be where I am today. Even when I didn't fully understand my role in certain jobs, each one taught me something very valuable. I used to downplay what I was doing, not realizing it was all leading me to my future goals. Without these skill sets, I wouldn't have the confidence to take a leap of faith. So right now, I'm deeply passionate about self-care, self-awareness, movement, energy healing, sound healing, mediumship, and the list goes on. I've experienced these tools firsthand, and they've helped me in so many ways. I've been working hard behind the scenes to bring something magical into existence. I've talked a lot about my past in these podcast episodes, so I thought I'd give a sneak peek into my current life and what that looks like. I decided to take a leap of faith and go all in as a spiritual entrepreneur. This April, I'll be at psychic fairs in Ontario, Canada, in the towns of Orillia and Parry Sound. I'll be offering in-person readings and Reiki energy healing sessions. I'm excited, and I just realized that I've been preparing for this my whole life. I've been honing my craft for the last 6 years, and as nerve-wracking as it might feel to step out into the world, I won't know what's possible for me unless I try. And to top it off, I have to give a 15 to 30 minute talk at the event, something that I've never done before. I started this podcast as a way to express myself, and now I'm being given opportunities to do this in person. Am I ready? I don't know. I'll probably be sweaty, my heart will race, and at some point, I might forget everything that I wanted to say. But on this podcast, I can gather my thoughts, use my notes, I can even take my time and do retakes if I need to. But through recording, I've noticed a difference in the way that I talk. And the more that I do it, the more that I feel confident in myself. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, is to follow what excites you, whatever pulls at your heart, makes you smile and lights you up. See where it leads. Life has its ups and downs, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. Sometimes the mundane moments are just stepping stones to the next level. We're always climbing and evolving, but in the midst of it all, find something that keeps you excited. I won't know until I try, and maybe that's the whole point. Stepping into the unknown, following what feels right in the moment, and trusting that each experience is guiding me somewhere meaningful. Whether I love it or not, it will teach me something. It will show me more of who I am and where I'm meant to go. This year, I'm choosing to live bravely, to embrace trial and error, and to explore, to allow myself space to evolve. Life isn't about having all the answers. It's about being open to the journey. And as long as I keep following what excites me, I know I'm on the right path. If you ever find yourself wondering, is there more to life than this? The answer is yes. There is so much more waiting to be discovered. Pay attention to what makes your heart come alive. Notice what gives you energy. Because that's where the magic is. Sometimes it's something super small, like a light flaky croissant, which is obviously my favorite, or meeting someone new, or trying a new activity. What excites you will be different from moment to moment, and that's okay. The key is to recognize it, embrace it, and follow where it leads. The more you lean into what lights you up, the more fulfilled you'll feel. You might even uncover a new path you never expected. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you feel called to, please share this podcast, subscribe to it, and leave a rating and review. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at healwithcare@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at healwithcare. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.